All right, there we go. Some Cristiano Ronaldo talk just in time for me to welcome in Tom Hamilton. We're going to be talking Liverpool. Mark Ogden is still here with us as well. But first, our Julian Laurent, who's gone off to do one of his 3 million shows that he always does, has confirmed that Hakim Ziyech is indeed going to go to PSG. On loan with no option to buy is what he's telling us just now. We're going to get him back in the room to explain it all. So don't go anywhere for that one. But like I said, let's talk Liverpool because, Tom, what a time for Liverpool. What a time for Liverpool. Times are hard, I would say. They're being dumped out of, the cups, which is rough to see because I think that was their best chance of silverware, isn't it? Yes, they still have the Champions League coming, but that's up against Real Madrid, who also have their problems, but it's Real Madrid. And they only have Cody Gakpo to show for it. Now, I say only Cody Gakpo, but after the World Cup, everyone got excited for him. But thoughts on if he's enough to solve the problems that Jurgen is having right now?
I think it's a really interesting time for Liverpool. I think Gakpo is clearly one of these signings where they're looking towards the next 3, 4, 5 years. If you're looking at the immediate issues, growing injuries here, there and everywhere, midfield definitely needs reinforcements, long-term planning there. They've been linked with a host of impressive names, probably looking ahead to the summer, like Jude Bellingham. I imagine also Caicedo, if he's back on the market. I'll have a look there. But if you remember a couple of seasons ago when they had that huge injury crisis in defence, what they did was they made short-term signings. They signed, I think it was Ben Davies, and then they also signed Kabak on loan. And this was the sort of thing they did whereby it wasn't panic buying. They're looking at the long-term picture, and I think they're probably trying to do the same thing again. You can imagine they need reinforcements in midfield. Oxlade-Chamberlain stays. His contract's up in the summer. He could be maybe being one to have moved on this transfer window, but I think they're trying to keep it as calm as possible, but it's going to be a turbulent couple of months ahead and a season whereby falling well short of their expectations.
Now, I mean, when we talk about rebuilds, Liverpool really in recent times have done it perfectly. We know the massive rebuild, but one thing about that rebuild is that it took time. Time that I think after tasting all the success that they have tasted and winning pretty much everything there was to win in the last couple of years is probably something that Liverpool fans don't want to go through again. So what are you hearing about the plan there at Liverpool? Is the main stuff to happen in the summer if Cody Gakpo is all we're expecting now?
I think so. And also, but there's a lot of uncertainty behind the scenes with the ownership situation and whether they're looking for investment, looking to try and move the club on there. Klopp's there for another couple of seasons. So I think it's fair to say that he won't be going anywhere anytime soon. But it's certainly something whereby if you're looking at Liverpool's team at the moment, you're looking at the midfield and thinking that really does need reinforcement. Gakpo, once they get these forwards back, the likes of Diego Jota, the likes of Luis Diaz, then suddenly you've got a completely transformed front line. Firmino out of contract in the summer again. But equally, I think it's something they've had a lot of upheaval, like Michael Edwards, sporting director, leaving as well. It's a time whereby they need stability. And I think that's what they'll be looking to bring to the club while looking to sort of evolution instead of revolution over the summer.
All right, well, let's go to Mark Ogden as well, who actually doesn't live too far from Liverpool himself. So I'm sure you can hear probably the bit of panic, Oggy, that Liverpool fans have been having in recent times. Just touching on that rebuild and the fact that it is only Cody Gakpo that they have to show for now to kind of settle some of the nerves for the rest of the season. Just your thoughts on probably what their plan was, what it should be, or what we should expect from them.
Well, first of all, like Tom said, there is a lot of uncertainty behind the scenes. Just Julian Ward, who was Michael Edwards' replacement, he's announced that he's leaving at the end of the season as well. So as it stands, they won't have a sporting director at the end of the season. And, with the club likely to change hands in terms of ownership, it's a state of flux, isn't there? We don't know who's going to be looking after recruitment. I've been told that Jurgen Klopp will have a greater say in recruitment. So you've got a manager that might have a greater say. So, look, he knows that he needs midfield reinforcements. He's been looking for that for months now. He mentioned it in the summer. They ended up bringing Arthur Melo from Juventus, and that has been a disaster because he's not played. He's been injured all the time. So Liverpool need reinforcements in midfield, but ultimately it depends on which Champions League or Europa League competition they're in, if any, because as it stands right now, they're struggling to get in the top 4. They might have to beat Real Madrid to have a chance of winning the Champions League. So if Liverpool aren't in the Champions League, it really, really impacts on their prospects of signing Jude Bellingham, because Bellingham, first of all, will want to be in the Champions League. And secondly, Liverpool need the Champions League finalists to be able to sign a player like Jude Bellingham. So everything depends now on which competition they're in and how they progress from now until the end of the season. Now, in terms of what they've brought in, obviously Gakpo is the sign they've made, and it was a surprise to many people that they brought Gakpo in because they are quite heavily overloaded up front. When all the players are fit, where are they going to play? There's 5 or 6 players that will want to play every week. even if you take Firmino out of the equation. So you could argue that Liverpool have spent maybe too much time and money on strikers. Maybe they've probably one forward too many, and they should really have invested in the midfield last summer. So they haven't done that, and now they've got a midfield that is in its 30s, is injury prone, and it doesn't have the legs anymore to do what Jurgen Klopp wants it to do. So that is a problem, and it's a problem that might not be solved in the summer because we don't know who the owners are going to be, we don't know which competition they're going to be in, or how much money they've got. So they are uncertain times for Liverpool. They obviously have a priority list of targets with Bellingham at the top of it, but it depends which competition they're playing in. So we have to wait and see. This is a massive summer for Liverpool because if they don't get it right, if they're in the wrong competition, if they miss out on Bellingham, then it is a rebuild. And while they're rebuilding, Arsenal are resurgent, Man United are resurgent, Chelsea, who knows what they'll be having spent, £500 million on players, and Man City aren't going away. So this could be a summer where, sorry Liverpool fans, but this could be the downturn for a few years because they may have missed the boat on strengthening when they were ahead.
Well, you know what they say, Augie, misery does love company, and Liverpool probably doesn't have to look very far for some company in misery. They just have to look at the blue side of Merseyside. Let's talk Everton because, wow, what is going on there? I mean, this has been quite a tumultuous week as well, getting rid of Frank Lampard, bringing in Sean Dyche, but not probably giving him enough time to make a signing. We're hearing reports of fans who want to go outside Goodison Park to protest the lack of signings. I know you're close with Everton as well. What are you hearing, Augie, of if they had even any plans for this January transfer window in place before getting rid of Frank Lampard?
Well, the plans they had were to let Anthony Gordon go and not replace him, which is ridiculous. They have been looking for forwards. That is no secret. They were looking at Che Adams at Southampton and couldn't get a deal done. A couple of other players, a couple of other targets were in the frame. Look, Everton's problem stretched back to the summer. They let Richarlison go to Tottenham and replace him with Neil Maupay from Brighton, which is, I'm not being funny, but that is, you're losing a Champions League player and replacing him with a player that lower league, Premier League level at best. I'm sorry, Maupay, but that is the reality. So they replaced their best goal scorer with a player that wasn't able to do it. Season's gone on. He's not scored the goals. Calvert-Lewin's been injured, so they're in the mess they're in. Now, I do have a lot of sympathy for the Everton scouts because these guys, I know they've submitted targets to their, to the bosses, and the targets haven't been signed, or the targets have been suggested and they've gone elsewhere because people above them. There's so much uncertainty at Everton as to who runs the club, who makes the decisions, and players are brought in that don't fit what the requirements are. So in many ways, if I'm an Everton fan, I'm thinking, well, at least they haven't wasted more money this window on players that don't fit the system or don't fit what they need. Maybe Sean Dyche's best advice to get what he's got. They've got a decent enough squad that Dyche gets more out of that squad and gets them playing as they should do because, Everton in the past have made some pretty rash buys in January or rash signings. Dele Alli, a year ago, that has been a disastrous sign. He's not even there now. So maybe not signing a player has been a good thing for Everton because Dyche can get the current ones on the training ground and try and get something out of them and hope that Dominic Calvert-Lewin stays fit. But obviously all clubs and all players want to sign a player in, or fans want to sign a player in January or a transfer window to get that boost. But sometimes signing the wrong player is the wrong thing to do. So maybe Everton have got away with it this time and that they just have to rely on Sean Dyche now to get more out of the players than Lampard was.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.